Hi everyone. So today we're going to look at these real-world applications of problems that we worked on the other day. The other day we worked on when you were given two sets of coordinates. You were given two xy points, and we wrote the equation of a line. If you remember, first thing we did was we found the slope. We found m. And then once we found m, we found the y-intercept. We found b. We're going to go through that same process today, but with word problems. So example 1 says a container is filled with water but has a small hole in it. After 20 minutes, 700 milliliters of water remain in the container. And after 60 minutes, 100 milliliters of water remain. So they're giving you 2 points on the line. They're telling you that when x is 20, the y value is 700. When x is 60, the y value is 100. 2 points on the line are being given. So if you can, pause the video for a minute and see if you can go through the process of finding the slope, finding the y-intercept, and that would allow you to write a linear function. This one would be in the form of y equals mx plus b. So we're switching back over to slope-intercept form because of the information that's given to us. 2 coordinates, 2 points on a line does not lend itself to standard form, right? It's not like you were given a total. We're not going to do ax plus by equals c. Instead, we're going to do slope-intercept form because I could easily find the slope given the 2 points and then the y-intercept. Okay, so pause the video and see if you could try that. I will go through the process. So my slope is going to be change in y, 100 minus 700, over change in x, 60 minus 20. You could have gone the other way also, 700 minus 100 over 20 minus 60. Either way, we're going to get the same answer. I have one negative and one positive. 600 divided by 40, divided by 40, which is going to be 15. That's not the eraser. Okay, I can't get this to erase. So that's a 40. Equals negative 15. So that tells me my slope is negative 15. And if you remember, our next step was to write this as y equals negative 15x plus b. B is my unknown. You can choose either of these 2 points on the line to plug in as x and y. So I am randomly choosing 20. Actually, I'll choose 60, 100. So I'm going to go 100 for my y value equals negative 15 times 60 plus b. So that's going to give me 100 equals negative 900 plus b. When I add 900 to both sides, I get b equals 1,000. So my final equation, slope-intercept form, putting those 2 things together, is y equals negative 15x plus 1,000. Okay. Pause the video as much as you need to write things down. So the rest of this is just going to be like understanding what all these different parts mean. So what's the rate of change? Explain its meaning. So we've done this. Rate of change means slope, right? They're asking you about the slope. The slope you just calculated to be negative 15. Explain its meaning. Remember that you're going to put the y units over the x units. So the y units, if you look back at the problem, the y units, actually they said to use v and x, so I'm going to switch this over to v here instead of y. I'm going to use v. So x is minutes, and v, or y, is the amount of milliliters that remain in the container. So remember, negative 15 is really negative 15 over 1. So y units is number of milliliters remaining. X units is the number of minutes that have passed. So I'm going to make a sentence, and there's a negative, so I'm going to say every minute, because it's about water being lost from the container, every minute 15 milliliters pour out of the container. That's what it means that it's negative, the amount of water remaining. Actually, sorry. I'm going to change that. 15, because it's water remaining. 15 fewer milliliters remain. 15 fewer milliliters remain, or you could say pour out. Okay, what is the y-intercept? So the y-intercept is 1,000. That's your b value. So you should quickly recognize that. Remember that the y-intercept is the initial value. It's the starting amount. It's the flat rate in certain situations. In this case, it's the amount of water that you started with in the container. So the container started with 1,000 milliliters of water. The next few questions are going to ask you to determine algebraically certain values. So algebraically means you're using your equation. Your equation was y equals negative 15x plus 1,000. It says determine algebraically the number of minutes it takes for the container to have 400 milliliters remaining in it. So you have to think to yourself, 400, where would I plug it in? Would I plug it in the place of y or in the place of x? Well, y is milliliters remaining, x is number of minutes. So I'm going to plug the 400 into the y value, and I'm going to solve my equation for x. So I'm going to say 400 equals negative 15x plus 1,000, and you solve your equation. So I'm going to subtract 1,000. I have negative 600 equals negative 15x. So when I divide by negative 15, x equals 40. So that means it takes 40 minutes for 400 milliliters to be in the container. Part E, same thing, determine algebraically. That tells me I'm going to use my equation, y equals negative 15x plus 1,000, to determine how much water is remaining in the container after 10 minutes. So these are the number of minutes. This is going to replace my x value. So I'm going to set up y equals negative 15 times 10 plus 1,000. That's going to be y equals negative 150 plus 1,000. That's going to be y equals positive 850. So there will be 850 milliliters in the container after 10 minutes. And finally, part F, determine algebraically how long it will take for the container to empty. So you have to sort of stop and think to yourself, for it to be empty means that my amount of water remaining is 0. That means that my y, or my v, I should keep using v, is 0. So 0 equals negative 15x plus 1,000, and we're going to figure out how many minutes that is. So I'm going to subtract 1,000. So I have negative 1,000 equals negative 15x, or I could have added 15x, divide by negative 15, and you're going to get a decimal, so you're going to get approximately, it's 66.6 repeating, so 66 technically and 2/3, but I will say it takes approximately 67 minutes. I should have said to round, to empty. So on your homework, these are the application questions, but the main part is the very beginning, which is writing the equation. Every question is going to give you the same type of information. It's going to give you two sets of points. 2 points that you have to turn into coordinates and then find the slope, find the y-intercept to write the equation. And then after that, you do like your application of like what each part means, okay? And then I will give you a detailed answer key tomorrow. All right, thanks.